We all have days when we feel stressed. When that happens, one of the tools that helps me is to notice and redefine the mood that I'm going through. I find that if I can catch myself when I feel stressed, then I can step back from it and I can choose different labels that help me to feel calmer and more in control. So today, I want to walk you through that process and show you how you can use it when you feel like your back's against the wall. I'm Kyle Greenfield. I've been a stress and well-being coach for the last 10 years, and I'm the founder of thejoywithin.org. So recently, a client came to me and basically said, look, I'm stressed out of my mind and I do not know what to do. Her work had been incredibly busy. They were understaffed, so she was handling multiple roles. Her boss just kept giving her more and more projects to manage, and her colleagues kept turning things in late, so she was under more pressure to get things done quickly and turn things around. And on top of all of that, she had family drama that cropped up over the weekend. And as she was telling me this, I could just feel the stress in her voice. It was just one thing after another, everything piling on. It just felt like and. Just stop, I said. Just breathe for a minute. Give yourself a moment to settle. We're going to deal with all of this, but we cannot do that when we feel that pressure closing in on us. So the first thing we need to do is reset. Always. We need to put our minds on literally anything else, just for a moment. If we can find that moment of space, then we can turn back to trying to solve the problem in front of us. And in her case, I wanted to draw her attention to the language that she was using. As she was describing her stress, she kept coming back to really intense phrases. She was stressed out of her mind. Her boss was really pressuring her. The other team members were killing her. The family issue had exploded. Within the first few minutes of our call, she had gone through a half dozen different things, and for each one, she was labeling it as stress. Stress. Now just think about how that feels for a minute. Even if you haven't been stressed recently, repeating it in that way brings forward that feeling. This is stressful, and that is stressful. I'm feeling really stressed right now. Just saying that triggers cortisol in the brain. We start to feel tense and on edge. We close off a little bit. And repeating that word stress over and over again makes us feel like everything is stacking up against us and that there's no escape. When that happens, one of the strategies that I find really helpful is to clarify my language. I find that if I can clarify my thoughts and become more specific about the feelings they actually trigger within me, then I can ease off of that feeling of stress. So on our call, we began to chip away at some of these pressures. I pressed her on why her boss demanding more from her caused her to feel stress. She had to think about that for a second. But then she said, well, I guess it's just that I have so much work and I don't really know what's most important. And that's great, I said, because that's not a vague stress anymore. Now it's a prioritization problem, and that is much easier to handle. Similarly, there was a colleague that had been stressing her out because he kept interrupting her with unimportant questions. But as we looked into it, we found that the colleague wasn't actually being stressful. It was that she felt badly because she didn't have the time or the patience to help him this week. And as we started to go through these different issues, she realized that underneath all of them, she was worried that the problems at work meant that the company wasn't doing well. And if the company's not doing well, that can mean layoffs or any other number of negative consequences. And as soon as she said that, I just said stop. Because that isn't stress, that's worry. And worry has absolutely nothing to do with the actions that you take today, right? It feels like stress because worry pulls forward a hypothetical negative event from the future and activates it today. But it's not actually relevant to what's going on right now. If we can see that clearly, we can see that you are only one person. You can't do anything about 1,000 potential future problems. You can only respond as best that you can now to the problems that you are facing now. Something clicked. We were on Zoom, but I could feel the relief wash over her, which is incredible because we didn't actually fix any of her problems. And this is what most people miss. Because when we're stressed out, we tend to try to rush in and try to solve everything immediately. But we can't do that, not when we're stressed, not in that moment. The point of this strategy is not to pretend that you don't have a lot on your plate. It's to use clarity and specificity to stop ringing the "I'm stressed out" alarm bells that are going off in the back of your head. Just by shifting the language that we use and redefining our emotions to be more specific for the specific scenarios that we're going through right now, we can ease that tension that creates a fight, flight, or freeze response. It's kind of like breaking down a huge goal. When we have a big goal, it might feel impossible and far off, but if we chunk it down into small steps, we can see how to move forward. And this is just like that, but with our emotions. Stress feels unsolvable because it becomes many little things that are stacked together. It becomes just one huge blob of stress. As we group more and more issues together under that same label of stress, it becomes that impossible task that we just never want to deal with. But when we break down the emotions, we break down the stress, and we start to see more clearly how we can move forward with each. For me, I think it helps that I have a strong belief that in any given moment, I can only do one thing well. I am one person. There is a limit to what I can do in a day. That means that sometimes I have to let some fires burn. And I think that knowing this helps me to focus more clearly. When I focus, I act more deliberately. I get more done. And I find that all of the issues tend to resolve themselves more quickly. So I encourage you to try this out the next time that you feel stressed. Just step back and try to be more specific about how you describe the stressful emotion. Maybe that feeling isn't actually stress. When you look more closely, maybe it's actually overwhelm or frustration or worry. And I know that changing that label doesn't actually solve the problem, but it gives you the capacity to deal with the problem more clearly. It breaks down the mental load, so you can stay more centered, be more focused, and make more progress. And that's how we turn "I'm feeling stressed out of my mind" into a calmer and more confident day. Thank you so much for your time and your energy here today. If you're feeling stressed, I want you to know that there is a path out. Stress is one form of a phenomenon that we at The Joy Within call unconscious unhappiness, one of the many ways that the little voice in our head gets in our way. If you head over to thejoywithin.org, you can take our free self-assessment to understand how this is showing up for you. You'll also find a ton of free courses, guided exercises, and meditations to help you become the calmer, more confident, and fulfilled person that we all deserve to be. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you love, so that together we can create a happier and more peaceful world.